We're now steaming back to our own time and to Main Street Station, gateway to Disneyland.
What is the Disney Cultural Exchange Program and how did everyone discover it? Entering the room where it happens, the presentation and the interview. You're listening to the Mates on Main Street podcast, where we chat about our journey as cast members from the Malls Balls of Adelaide to the Magic Kingdom Castle. Join us every week after we clock off to take a peek behind the magic curtain. Hi everyone, welcome to the first podcast episode of the Mates on Main Street podcast. We've got a massive episode ahead of us, so we're just going to jump straight into it. Today I am joined here by my fellow co-hosts, starting with
Lorenzo,
Shelly,
Michigan.
And today we are talking all about our Disney application and interview process. But before we get into that, let's give you some context behind who we are and what this podcast is. So why did we choose the names Mates on Main Street? Well, we're from Down Under, so we're from Australia, and a typical slang word would be...
mate.
Mates. I'm trying to make it interactive. Mates, and then Main Street being...
they get the mates for 500.
No, the term is, what is mates? And Main Street being a place on Disneyland. So that's alliteration. Can't go wrong with that. And just to give a bit of a quick whip around and an introduction of everyone. So we've learned each other's names, but tell me your relationship with Disney or how you got to know the Disney Cultural Exchange Program.
You should start. You're the host.
Me? Okay, I'll start with me. Short version of it is, you go into a YouTube rabbit hole. So back when I was, I'm going to say about 12, I fell into a rabbit hole of, people working at Disney, which blew my mind. Of course, people work at
Disney?
Right? And it was
real people?
Real people? Like the people I interact with? Bro, what? So that blew my mind. And so it was like these chefs making wedding cakes, of all things. But then it was a further deep dive. And I saw these YouTubers who were doing the OG days of the Disney College program and talking about that. So I was like, damn, I really want to do that when I'm older. And the pandemic hit, so I couldn't do that in year 2 of uni. But now the applications were open and I jumped straight into it. So that's how I found out. Who wants to
I'll
share?
go next. So my relationship with Disney...
And how you know about that.
Yeah. Okay. So my relationship with Disney started when I was younger too. Obviously, it always starts when you're a wee little girl.
Wee little lass.
I used to live in Florida, and
What?
you guys didn't know that?
No!
Oh,
Dude, what?
we're finding out so much about each
Oh
other
my
right now.
gosh.
How?
I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, so I always went to Disney. I went every...
Wait, what the fuck? This was never brought up before.
What? I swear it was, but
No.
you weren't listening, apparently.
What
No.
the fuck?
You're about to be educated.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I lived in Florida, and I would go every few months to Disney. We would go all the time. I was 5 or 6 years old, and obviously going that often when you're young, you fall in love with the place. And ever since then, I feel like I've been back a couple times, but I haven't been back since 2019 when I actually visited my sister who was doing the program. So there you go.
I knew that one.
Yeah, so she did it for a whole year, and I have wanted to do it ever since. And I was with Maybelline when we found out that they opened the program, and it was the best thing ever.
A big celebration.
So we both
So
applied.
do you want to give some context as to why you lived in Jacksonville, Florida?
Oh, very random. Just my dad worked there. My dad worked there, and we all followed, and we were only there for 2 years, so not very long.
Still
But-
long enough to grow up in Disney
Yeah.
World, which is still pretty
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
Okay, no
it was
fun, silly.
great. It was great fun.
Did it fall off?
Yeah, it fell.
So that's my story.
Alrighty.
Dude, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
I did not know that. And we were over here let's have Rochelle talk because she's the most Aussie sounding one. She's literally grew up in America.
I thought you guys were acting shocked,
No!
and I was like, "Wow, you did
Wow.
a real good job."
That's the real method. No. I had no clue. Am I next? I guess I'll go
You are
next.
next.
My long story is way shorter than your guys. I first went to Disneyland in 2015 Yeah, it would have been 2015 because that was the 60th anniversary of Disneyland. And I was like, I knew Disney was a thing, but I never like, again, like you said, I never imagined that people work there, people actually like do it as a living. I thought it just existed and you enjoy it.
Totally.
I was in the Hyperion Theater watching Aladdin for the first time ever, and that was the first musical I'd ever watched, and it like totally blew me away. And I was like, this is so cool, I want to be a part of this. This is like literal magic that I'm watching. I think it's so cool, I want to be part of that for other people. And so yeah, I kind of just kept my eyes and ears open for any possible opportunity for me to be part of Disney until you showed me the Disney International College Program. I was like, sweet, let's do it. But like with Maybelline, we were intending to do it in 2019 until the big C came along. And
Oh, so we were all in the same boat.
we were all in the same
Yeah,
boat. We were
very much.
trying to do it, in well, it would have been our
Second year.
going into our second year of uni is when we wanted to do it, apply at the end of our first year of uni, but we couldn't because of lockdowns, and we're lucky enough that it's opened up in
Good
time for us to
timing.
do it. Yeah,
And that was still eligible, which is a conversation point for later.
yeah. Michigan.
Well, so my peak, not my peak, my interest for the program was actually at the beginning of the year. Was when I was working at the Fringe Festival in Adelaide, and one of my coworkers, I forgot her name, but she did it like in 2016, I believe. But then she was just telling me about it, and that piqued my interest a bit, because it was around that time was when the program was starting to come back. The Flamengo Crossing opened up, and I just got a bit curious. Then I just kept eyeing it over the past year, coming till June, was when our mom found out somehow over me when I was like signed up for like the email list for when that news would have broken out. So yeah, that's my interest in it. But it goes back to when Disney Plus first released, was with the Imagineering story, was my when I learned like, oh wait, these attractions are made by people.
Yeah. It's just so funny.
wasn't
You're
constructed
just
by a
so
robot.
like invested in the fantasy of it all, and then you forget there are like real people in charge of this and involved with doing it, and so you're like, oh wait, that can be me, and that is going to be a reality. I just realized we're probably going to start throwing a lot of Disney terminology out, and there are people who probably are completely in the dark about why the hell we're talking about this thing or like what we're even talking about. So I pulled up the official definition of the Disney Cultural Exchange Program, so the DCEP is acronym. What is commonly more known is the DCP, which is the college program, which is what the Americans do. So, being from Australia, we're moving there, and therefore we're doing a bit of a cultural exchange with them. What culture? What culture?
Buying snacks and
Bunny snacks.
Getting drunk.
Getting
Shoeys.
shoeys. Meat pies. Shoeys. Meat pies. We need to stop insulting our own culture because we are quite
Hey,
cultured
we-
people.
Doing bags, man, on the
we are more than Bunnings.
on
We have more than
on the
Bunnings snacks.
clothesline.
And so I'll just read out the job summary when you apply for this job. So, the Disney J1 Australia and New Zealand Cultural Exchange Program is a 5 to 12-month experience located at the Walt Disney World Resort near Orlando, Florida. Participants of this program have the opportunity to gain real-world work experience with a world-renowned entertainment company, learn skills from Disney leaders, meet people from around the world, and take part in a life-changing experience. Participants work in frontline, guest-facing roles throughout our parks and resorts. And then there's all about, your qualifications and things like that to be qualified for it. But I feel like that's a very corporate summary of it. You would have a better understanding of it. How would you describe what the Disney
I
cultural
never really thought it was a cultural exchange. I don't know why. I just thought it was, you had to be in uni. That was like the only thing. So I guess it was kind of like a student kind of exchange
Yeah,
thing.
I thought it was a student exchange
But
too.
yeah, it really is focused on culture, and I think that's like the main thing they look for in like your application and everything, is that you're sharing your culture with everyone at Disney, and you're working with different people and stuff like that. So I feel like they don't really talk about it that much in this, but yeah.
To
this is
me,
the main
I
point.
just hear, like, if I'm Disney, I'm hearing cheap labor, overseas, imported, We don't have to, like, they're not under American laws, so we can bully them if we want to. Like, that's all I'm hearing.
That's what they're hiding it.
That's
okay.
the
Oh my God, we
lingo
figured
That's the
it out.
magic. That's the Disney
Dude,
magic.
Disney magic.
Exploitation.
Exploitation.
We're cutting this part out, right?
Redacted.
This is the candid thoughts. You access this part of the
Close Mickey's ears.
You access this part of the podcast under our Patreon.
Close his eyes and ears. Close his eyes and ears.
$50 to keep listening.
Yeah, so I like the point that you touched on with the whole
Just gets
student
redone.
exchange, because the eligibility, which, you know what, let me walk through really quickly, which Michigan has its own story, but there's like 4 dot points. You can access this as well. Maybe I'll put the link in the description or show notes. But basically you have to have completed year 12 and are now currently a full-time student at an accredited post-secondary university, TAFE, or polytechnic institution, acquiring a bachelor's degree or a diploma or a certificate. And you have to have a current study of at least 1 year in length. Candidates enrolled in an accelerated 6-month program are not eligible. Sorry about it, guys. And you have to be enrolled in consecutive 6-month programs. So in total, just a year of study. Do you want to butt in real quick?
What is the American equivalent of year 12 for American viewers?
Grade
Oh,
12.
yeah, just senior
Senior year.
senior year.
College?
Yeah.
Senior high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The final year of high school,
Final year of
basically.
high school. And so you have to have finished high school and then in your first study of like your post high school studies. That was a really great sentence.
You don't have to worry about it, guys. Just keep listening.
And you have to have completed your first year. So you can't have just started uni and apply for it. That's not eligible. And you have to be studying in person. So if you're an online student, again, sorry, you're not eligible.
Sucks to suck.
You cannot defer the semester prior to your arrival. So if you have a break in study, then again, you're not eligible. So it's quite specific how you are. And even though Rochelle and I technically graduate this year,
Yeah.
we're still eligible because you can also be
1 year out.
Within a year of
12 months of graduating
graduating.
university.
So it wouldn't have been if it opened up in 2020.
3 and 4.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're right. 2024.
2024.
Yeah, you were right. Sorry. Yeah, so if it's
too
over 12
confusing.
months from your graduation date. So it's quite specific how you're eligible. And even if you're not in uni, you can do it, which means it's not really a study exchange, even though some people get that confused, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier. You don't have to study while you're there. You can take a study break. If you're in your second year of uni, you can just have like a
Leave
year
of
off
absence.
and you have to file an official leave of absence from the uni so that you can continue your studies once you come back. But you don't have to be continuing to study. And it's, I think, for visa reasons, they call it a cultural exchange so that you can get on the J1 visa. Look, I'm not in corporate.
So
I don't
many
actually know,
conspiracies.
but that's probably what it is. Because then you also receive like an email saying, oh, you have to do like these cultural phone calls or like.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
No, I'm pretty sure
did
we
you
have
see
to
that?
like.
Yeah.
I thought we have to log in on like what we did within a month.
Yeah, we have to participate in dinners because that's
What?
considered like exchanging.
Free
Yeah.
dinner?
No,
It's actually us hosting a budding snag
yeah,
event.
that's all it is.
Everyone shares their cultural food.
No,
Sausage and a bread.
we have to attend anything that's like dinners or like parties, anything that's like possible to exchange culture.
That sounds good.
Party bus.
That doesn't sound bad.
Yeah,
Is that
we
the
just have to
party
record.
bus?
We have to record every time we do something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. We'll find out when we're there and we'll tell you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more
Where'd you
comments to
get this
come, but that's just the black and white eligibility of it. So I'm going to move on to the second kind of segment of this, starting with the online application. So you get that job ad, that's where it is, and like you would on like LinkedIn or Jora or Indeed, you click on it and you follow the instructions. So I suppose the first step would just be making sure you're eligible, which is now why I'm going to throw it to Michigan to see if he can kind of explain his situation and the struggles that he faced as a TAFE student. For American listeners and viewers, I don't know what to say.
That's a
What
technical
does
college.
TAFE stand for?
Great question, TAFE student.
I have to look that up.
It's a technical college, so that's where you learn like that's where you not a
Technical
bachelor's
skills.
degree, you get like certificates and diplomas, which again I think diploma in America means a different thing. So
No, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing.
oh okay.
I don't know. I have to look this up. I don't got my phone.
So you can get diplomas there. It's a technical college. It's where you can learn trades. So
It's
trade
mostly,
again. I don't know if that's an Australian term.
Well,
Trade is like
TAFE
construction people.
Well, TAFE is mostly for like tradies.
Yeah, and you don't
Typically.
have to. You didn't have to get like a high graduation score in high school to attend a TAFE, so it's accessible in that sense as well. But yeah, Michigan, take it away.
So I graduated high school. That's all good. But then
Give the years as well. I think
so
that's
that's 20.
helpful.
I'm the class of 2020. So then come 2021, I went into certificate 3, 6 months, then went straight into a diploma for a year.
Mm.
Was it a year? Yeah, a year. So that was from August of 2021 to the beginning of July 2022. So, and because of that, when the job ad was posted in June of 2022, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I would have been graduating TAFE, and graduates of TAFE aren't eligible. And it's very specific that they are not allowed.
Whereas us as university students who have just graduated, we are. If you're in a TAFE and you've just graduated, sorry about it.
Yeah. Don't ask why, because we don't know.
I was just trying to Google like the American equivalent. I think there's trade schools. Like it's their equivalent of like a trade school, going to a trade school.
There you go. So you wouldn't have been eligible. So what did you do to fix that problem?
So, but there was the loophole is just go. It says as long as you consecutively study another course, could be uni, could be TAFE, it doesn't matter. As long as you're still consecutively studying, you're all good. As long as
post high school, yeah.
As long as it's
Some form
a
of
year,
tertiary
yeah.
education. Yeah.
As long as it's a year in length or two, like for example, 2 TAFE 6-month courses of TAFE courses together that makes up a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's eligible. In my case, I was like, I'll do uni because that's a bit more easier. Because my TAFE courses, my first 2 ones were already subsidized, so it would have cost a lot more to do TAFE again. Then I could just deal with the HEX debt later on with uni.
Do they need to know what HEX is now?
So that financial debt essentially is just like even more financial debt for Disney.
Yeah.
But in the future. So with doing this, I already know the answer, but for the purpose of our audience, you in your mind are eligible to do the program. What challenges did you face when we actually went to the interview and I guess post-interview without kind of spoiling what happened? What were the Disney team saying to you about your eligibility? Did they understand what was going on?
Or me? Oh,
Yeah. No, Lorenzo.
No, me.
No, so initially I got rejected. Actually, I just remembered. It was when we were supposed to hear back from them because the timeline was come end of July, beginning of August.
Maybe we should give a quick timeline.
Yeah.
Do you remember the timeline
Do you know?
of application? Do you
So,
remember?
Not a clue. It feels like eternity ago. The visa stress is just.
Yeah.
I remember they
overtaking
said
everything.
end of July they would let us know if we had it
That's a
into
fly. That's a
right?
yeah.
And then it ended up being another month and a half or something after that we found out.
Yeah, so on the website it said come end of July they'll send out invitations for interviews.
Oh, now
Yeah,
I'm starting
so we
it's starting to
applied.
jog.
We applied beginning mid-June. I
June.
would say mid-June.
No, it was,
we
for
applied.
us we applied 10 days
It would
later.
have been it would have been mid-June that we had applied, and then the advertisement had said, "Hey, we'll let you know by July if you have an interview." July rolls around. August
We're starting
rolls around.
to not sleep at night.
Yeah.
Thinking that we haven't got in for some weird reason. So
we
then,
didn't even make it to the interview
That-
stage. They were just
right?
like, nah,
sorry.
Yeah.
we don't want your
Chuck
kind
it out.
here. Yeah.
Well,
Well, because we had no idea how strict they were with numbers this year. We were just clueless as
Very
to
in the
if
dark,
they would
yeah.
be very strict or they're just gonna accept everyone for interviews. We had no idea, so it was stressful.
It
to
was
say
very
the least.
stressful. So that was the timeline. And then we were on the edge, just waiting for like an email from Disney. And Michigan, of all people, was the first one to receive an email. And so in our household, because Michigan and I are brothers and sisters, if you did not know already, I was like freaking out. I was like, what the hell is happening? Like, what is in this email? What was in the email, Michigan?
No, thank you. We don't want you. I got rejected initially.
And so he was
Rejected.
crying, and it was
I
just
wasn't
like
crying.
yes, you were.
Crying. I didn't get into Disney. I wasn't crying, man.
And so he was so upset. Rightfully so. I totally understand. And
No, I didn't cry. I was just depressed for like the next few days.
All right.
all right, we'll go with
We're
that.
for
It wasn't even for a few
No
days. I was just
toxic
depressed
masculinity
for that
here.
night.
So my analytical brain kicked in because I'm like, hang on,
Go copium.
this doesn't make any sense because I just look at everything and I'm trying to calculate how it's going. And Michigan, who was like a qualified person who has a really great resume, Disney, who are short-staffed because in the broader scheme of things, they are hosting job fairs. Now in 2022, I can't say from when you're listening to this, they host job fairs like every second weekend, it feels like, because they are just so short-staffed as per every other workplace in the world after COVID. And so they're just searching for people to work for them. And so they're getting desperate enough to reach out overseas, down under. And so I'm like, Michigan, there's no way that you did not get an interview. Like, email them. I was like, email them straight away, ask them why. So you emailed them, and
Yeah.
what did they say?
It's because on the first page, it's like similar to a normal like job website, where you just put like your
This is when you're submitting the application,
before
by the
you
way.
get into the nitty gritty of it. It's like just general information, then like education history and like job history, just like basic stuff. So I found out I put the wrong information, and they thought I was still a high schooler.
They're like, Michigan, you're not eligible because you do still be in high school.
I forgot to put the rest of my education history in. I just did high school.
Note to self.
So,
Note to be-
a hot tip number one.
Yeah.
Firstly, make sure
Double check.
make sure you're eligible. But number two, just reread your application. Make sure you are eligible. But get this. This is the biggest plot twist because not only did he get rejected, firstly, secondly, he went back to them and they're like, this is why you're rejected. He goes back to them and says, no, I'm actually eligible. Like, I've done TAFE. Like, I'm definitely eligible. I'm in uni. These are the reasons why I'm eligible. And they go, oh, all right,
All
then.
good.
No problems. Well, we can actually confirm with you that you have an interview.
And then we start freaking out.
We start freaking out because this man is probably the first in Australia to know that he had an interview,
Yes,
but not
sir.
even from the official way because he got it wrong.
Because I'm a dumbass.
So then we were like, should we just email
Should
them?
we just like get
And
it wrong
ask.
too?
They let me reapply. Then when the recruiter Joe, the guy who takes
We
care
love
of
Joe.
all the Australian applicants, because he was the guy I was talking to, when he replied instantly, I got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're good. You got
You're
an
good to
interview.
go. And so we're here sitting like, what is going on? And time was passing again. It was just being very, very slow. Like we were not hearing anything. It would have been like at least a week or 2 weeks from when he got his email. And I was getting very impatient. And so I pulled out this whack ass excuse. Not really an excuse because it's pretty legitimate. We're from Adelaide as well, which means that all the interviews that were going to be held were in major cities in other than Adelaide. So
Everything but Adelaide
So
and
Perth.
Darwin.
Perth had one, eh?
Yeah.
Perth.
They were the first ones.
Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne, right? So they would literally fly over our state and not acknowledge us.
Perth
And-
has the same like
Distance.
population as
Yeah.
Adelaide. They just didn't want to come to Adelaide, I guess.
And there were heaps of Adelaide applicants, so I feel like
Yeah.
they will include us in the future, hopefully.
Hopefully.
it's definitely something we brought up.
They skip Adelaide, skip like Darwin, then
Darwin.
they skip Canberra.
Canberra. No,
And
but Canberra's
Tasmania.
like in New South Wales. So
yeah, but
that's fine.
still, I'm just saying.
So yeah, I was getting a bit impatient because
skip
it
the
would
Gold
mean
Coast.
that we would have to go to a different state, and we all work, so we all have casual jobs, and you have to give your job notice of when you're going to leave. And it was getting to a point where they said interviews were going to be in
October.
Oh, gosh.
October.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they said interviews were going to be in October, but this is kind of like during the blackout period of like retail and hospitality because it's getting towards the
Seasonal
the
holiday.
festive season. Like our artwork, we changed in our Christmas availability, and so I emailed the Disney support, and I said like, hey, this is what's happening in our lives. Are you able to at least tell us what the interview dates are so that we can prepare our workplaces? Even if we don't get the interview, we just need to know the interview dates, is what I was asking. And so Joe comes back. Joe is a common character in today's episode. Joe comes back.
Joe is a real person.
Joe is a real person. He's not a robot. So
Joe's
he's
the
in charge of
Stan
all the
Liam.
Australian, New Zealand culture exchange program. And he comes back and he's like, yeah, absolutely. I can tell you the interview dates. Interview dates for Perth, Melbourne, blah, blah, is these. Also, happy to confirm, Maybelline, you do have an interview. And I started crying as soon as I read that email because again, probably the second person in Australia to know that I got an interview.
Again, in an
through the back
unofficial manner.
channels. All through the back channels.
Yeah.
So for future applicants, I don't think everyone should email Joe.
We're
This
not
is bad
encouraging
advice.
it.
Joe
not-
doesn't want to get a heap of emails. in his
Don't
inbox.
email Joe.
Well, this is on video. He can know who to pinpoint.
But if you want it, his email is here.
No, the thing is, you have to go through. Okay. Also, a side note, you have to go through like a forum in order to email them. Like it's a form. You can't actually email them directly. So anyway, advice is don't email them, but also you can email them, especially for legitimate reasons like wanting interview dates when they're not delivering according to their correct timeline.
And they're super helpful too.
Mm-hmm.
Like with any questions you have. So
Yeah, because you've contacted them
Oh,
before as well.
I contacted them because I was worried that they hadn't even received my application because mine hadn't even gone to we've received your application stage and like we're reading it and we'll let you know if you have an interview later. So I was stressing. I was like, oh my gosh, because I applied through LinkedIn, which is weird.
Yeah.
I feel like not many people did that. So yeah, I was worried that they didn't get it, and I was like, okay, I'll just email him. And he was like, oh, good, we have your application. You'll find out soon. And then it went straight to the interview stage. It skipped the middle stage and went straight to the interview stage. So
There's like 5 little like nodules or whatever you call them, where it's like
track
you're at
your
this
progress.
stage, you're at this stage now. Oh, and you're expected to be by this stage. By then, Rochelle went from here to we've received your application to
0 to 100.
here's your interview.
Straight home run. No, because it's like application
relief.
received, review application. Then I know the fourth one's interview time, but I can't remember what the middle one is.
Yeah.
Then the last
Anyway.
one is you're accepted.
Yeah, so that's a good recommendation actually, because when you apply, you get 2 buttons. Apply via email, like using your email address, or log in through your LinkedIn. So I would say a tip would be
Don't do that?
Don't do that.
Do you know
Just-
what I thought? I just thought maybe they would like see all my job history and like they'd be impressed. But I think that was a bad decision, and I think you should just go through the normal login button. Is my advice, anyways.
So once you kind of move to this, you have an interview. It's a mad dash to secure an interview time. So I think we got the official email. I went to the gym and then at like 7 a.m. it came through my inbox. 7 a.m. Adelaide time, right? And so instantly I logged in. I booked the first appointment in Melbourne because I just wanted to get it over and done with on the first day. They had a few days in Melbourne. And I was like calling everyone.
Yeah.
Essentially, I was like, pick up the phone. No one was picking up the phone. I get it.
I think I
7
was
a.m.
asleep.
I get it. It's 7 a.m. But I guess my next tip in that regard is if you want to get a good interview time, if you're with a group, give everyone your passwords, honestly, to your account. Because then I could have just booked everyone for the same interview.
Well, you guys all
Lorenzo
did,
rejected
but it
it.
was just me that missed out.
But they logged in by themselves.
With
but
consent, of course.
with consent, don't just like steal their password or, I don't know,
I'd like to
withdraw the
withdraw my
application. Don't do that.
You know what? I'm good, thanks.
Maybe that's not a hot tip, but I don't know if someone else had done it for
It's
me
an
and secured
idea.
that. It's a good idea to have. Like I had Michigan's password because we would check on each other's accounts every now and then. So that would be my tip. Because then you can just schedule your interview straight away. What we had to prepare for the interview was a proof of student document.
Oh god.
Which is a whole nother story.
Go on, Rochelle. You kick it off with what this document is and how you have to fill it out.
So you basically have to get someone from your university. And Maybelline and I, we both go to uni SA.
She had to look at her hand. She had written it down in her notes. She's like,
Proud
we go
alumni.
to Mimi SA.
I was like, should I say the whole thing
Flunder.
for them? Basically, SA stands for South Australia, which
South
I feel
Africa.
You know, some
University
people
of South
think that
Africa.
SA is South Africa. So, you know what? I'm just making it easier for the people. And so Maybelline messaged, what was his name again?
Joe?
No.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. The head of our degree.
Head of our degree, asking him to fill it in for her. And he basically said, well, he didn't say that to you, but when I emailed him, he said, I can't help you with that. And basically just go to the uni, like, help desk and get them to do it for you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went and did that. It was actually fine. They have to stamp it with the seal of your
university or TAFE, yeah.
And luckily they had one. I think some people in the program, they didn't have a stamp
They
or
had to
something
like
that.
pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few. We were quite lucky, all of us. It was really straightforward to get our forms done. I mean, like 2 of us
I
went
have so many
direct.
copies for free.
Yeah, we went direct to our like head of the degree, and then he got sick of people asking him, so he's like, you know what, screw it, I can't be bothered. So we have like the generic student services, and it means that no one official really has to sign it as long as you have the stamp. I'm not saying forge
It's like-
documents.
it's like
Seal the stamp.
A representative.
Like it doesn't have to be like your head of degree.
Hot
or your
tip, commit
lecturer.
fraud. Steal the stamp. Sign it in your own name.
We're gonna steal
You know when you go to town and you like lick your wrist and you stamp it? Do that with your friends. Like just stamp
With the
it.
paper.
Stamp it on your friend's paper.
Stamped by Dynasty.
And
In
so,
fact, use it to forge other documents too.
yeah,
Don't listen to anything we've said in this whole podcast.
in this
basically.
section.
Are we really being helpful in this?
So yeah. We found it really easy, but in the Facebook group, there were some people who had many challenges.
Trouble.
Even the people we met at the interview,
Yeah.
some of them were saying like it took forever. They had to go like to a different campus to get theirs signed. Some of the official people wouldn't sign it, or they didn't understand what the form meant, so they wouldn't sign it. Some people apparently were charged for it. Whether they paid or not is a different question. But so it's very hard. It's something I would probably organize as soon
Ahead
as
of time.
possible. Just as soon as possible, organize it. You have to upload it to the Disney platform called Doc, which, another hot tip, mine would
Disney
not
Onboarding
upload
Central.
at all. Like, I would try again, different days, resave the document. And when I emailed them being like, guys, why is my document not uploading? They said, oh, because you have an underscore in your file name. Like, what
things.
computer system can't comprehend an underscore? Anyway, so don't underscore your documents. Is the second hot tip. Any other comments about the?
I can't
I mean-
remember if you had to have it for the interview or not. Did someone not have theirs for the interview and they were like, oh, it's
No,
fine as long as you do it soon?
They said you didn't have to bring any documents, but like, they prefer for you to upload it prior
Before.
to the interview.
Yeah.
But a lot of people did do it afterwards.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
I
did it
think it's,
afterwards, and it wasn't an issue as long
I
as
think
you
it's
are
before you get your visa.
eligible.
The only hot tip that I would have regarding your proof of student form is, one, don't throw it away. Don't throw away the physical copy.
Who did that?
Anyone who would throw away the physical copy after they upload it is just an idiot.
Do it.
Especially if you
Oh my
throw
God,
it
did I throw
away.
mine away?
Especially if you throw it away when you haven't saved it to some form of online platform where you can just re-download it again and like print it off.
Oh my gosh.
Hot tip for Rochelle specifically. Do not throw away your proof of student
Now I'm like,
form.
where is my student form?
I don't know if we need to bring it to the.
No, I'd say that as a joke because
Border.
I did that. I threw away my first copy.
Yeah.
Once you upload it to Doc,
It's
there's a
fine.
second time once you get accepted into the program where you have to upload it into spoiler we're in. You have to upload it into dorms to prove that you are a full-time student.
So you have to upload it a few times. So have a digital copy, have your physical copy. Otherwise,
Have a copy of everything.
Have a copy of everything.
yeah,
Always
advanced
backed
pro
up.
tip.
Always
Yeah.
back everything up. Always have a digital version. Always have a printed
Screenshots.
version. Have a folder with all of your physical printed documents.
Label it accordingly as well, so you're not
also-
just saving it as AJBQ underscore. Like,
Also, you have to sign it physically.
yes, you can't digitally sign your. That's a good point. You can't digitally sign your proof
No
of doc
e-sig.
form.
It's
So you
specific. You
can't-
can't have any e-signatures.
You can't email it to like an official at your university. So that's all the preparation you do pre-interview. Of course, we had to book some flights to go to Melbourne and actually do the interview in person. And as Shelly mentioned before, when you actually get there, I felt as though half the room was from Adelaide.
Yeah.
Oh no, solid few were.
Yeah, a solid few were. I mean, in total, there's 12 of us that we know of in the group chat that are going from Adelaide.
Is it?
And I feel like most of the people went to Melbourne.
It's just easier. It's closer.
It's the closest city
It's cheaper.
Yeah.
from Adelaide, so the cheapest. So yeah, just be prepared in that sense. Moving on to the next segment, which is we're in the room where it happens. The first section is the presentation. Everyone gets booked for the same presentation of that day. So if you're interviewing that day, you go to the first presentation at 9 a.m. because there's only one. During this segment, we are going to be using probably a lot of Disney lingo. And as per what they did in the presentation, we're just going to quickly break it down. So does anyone want to answer what the word guests mean if we talk about guests?
Guest is just anyone who, like, partakes in, like, Disney entertainment, right?
The customer. It's just.
That's the customer.
Ah.
Yeah, so
You're
whenever
really
you
stretching
refer
I
it.
failed! I failed! What's the percent I need
That's
to
why I
pass?
didn't say anything. That's why I
It's
looked
just the
at you
customer,
guys
it's just-
and
They
hoped
just
that
use
you would
fancy
answer
words
it.
Okay.
for things.
Well,
So-
that's the...
I think you should answer it, Maybelline.
Guess as customers. I didn't want to only be
That's
the
what I
one
mean.
talking.
That's what I mean.
You said the workers.
No, I said
you were
anyone
doing
who,
it-
in, like,
You were
takes
giving
in
like a
Disney
description.
entertainment.
Oh, takes in.
Like,
okay, that
anything,
was a
any
really
form of
roundabout
Disney
way.
is you're a guest.
What?
So,
I'm trying to make it more
Be
broad because it
honest.
sounds. I don't know. Maybe I was like, it sounds dumb. I'm like, the people who like buy things.
Every time somebody
any
watches a
visitor
Disney
in
film,
the
they're a
theme park.
guest.
No, so within the Disney theme park,
It's okay.
it's anyone who. Okay.
You can get the next one.
All right, Lorenzo. I have one more question for you. What does the terminology of roles mean? When I ask you, a participant of the program, what's your role? What is a role? What's a role?
A role is
Take your time.
it's you don't to go along
Don't
with the
hurt
Disney.
yourself.
I'm trying to not to go along
Well,
with
it
the
all
Disney.
starts when Walt Disney himself was born.
So in 1965. No, so instead of calling it jobs to continue along with the Disney magic, they like to replace job terms with like theatrical terms. So you're not what's it called?
A
You're not a
worker.
custodial like worker. That's your role. That's your place in this play essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, great. So,
So it's like your job.
Replace the word job with role.
so if we say role, we mean job, is what I'm trying to get at. Was there any other Disney lingo? I didn't really write a lot down.
Not costumes. Is
Yeah,
that
it's
it?
costumes.
Costumes?
Instead of
Yeah,
uniform.
so instead of uniforms, it's costumes.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I'm at work, you're on stage.
On stage.
Yeah,
Not many people actually refer to it like that.
but,
but
they're
you-
trying
you
to
do-
develop that mindset in you already.
Yeah,
that
you do
you're
use the words guests
performative.
and roles a lot more than you use on
It's
stage.
just theater terms.
Just theatre terms. Great. So if we drop that, that's how we're going to be talking for the rest of this podcast. The presentation started with Joe, and I guess majority of the time we met Joe in the flesh, actually. How surprising. So for
That's
majority
when
of
we realised he's real.
He's
not a
real.
robot.
He's not
Thank
a
you,
robot.
Joe.
It's not AI.
It's not AI.
Joe,
And
they're not a robot.
so he
not
was hosting the
Baymax behind the
presentation. He was
computer.
really great. Like, I thought he was
Yeah.
engaging.
He made you excited.
He
for
really
it.
did. And he
Even the presentation was like
For that
inspirational.
$14
it was a good
per hour.
presentation. And he explained his journey in the company, and it was really interesting. He started where we were, but obviously the American version, so the DCP.
What was his role again?
He started in food, and now he works in HR.
That could be me.
Spoiler! Spoiler!
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler, Michelle's gonna work in HR for Disney.
Customer complaints all day.
That's
Michelle's
episode
gonna
2.
Be serving food and beverage, but after. You never know.
And so he kind of does like an icebreaker in the form of like a quiz and
I don't have the pen
does
on me.
some like Disney
I don't have
parks.
it on me. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
to
does
go grab
some
it.
Disney parks tests. So I guess, does anyone remember all the questions?
I
didn't
remember
even
the
write them
cruise
down.
question.
Yeah.
So there was like a cruise question about
how many
like
cruises are there
how many
and what are
cruise
the
ships
names?
and
Yeah.
the names of the cruise ships. Which, can we even do that now? There's Magic. There's
Wait.
Disney at
Dream.
sea.
No.
No,
Isn't that a thing?
No, that's not the cruise name.
Oh.
that's
So
like,
it's-
that's like
They're like
Oh, I'm
they're
failing
all,
again.
Like, synonyms
Oh,
for magic.
no.
aren't
Yeah,
they?
no, there's
Well,
Magic, there's
will that be in
Wish,
the test?
there's Dream, there's
Fantasy.
Oh, no.
Fantasy. Oh, there's a few more. My mum,
Enchanted. No, that's just a
No.
That's the movie. That's the
fantasy.
we said
that's the
Fantasy.
movie.
Oh.
We said that.
Anyway, so you're gonna name all the cruise ships. We kind of
Insert
failed.
the last of you.
Insert the last one there. They asked like where the theme parks are because it's not just where we're going, which is Florida, in Orlando, Florida. There's also the original, which is called Disneyland or Disneyland Resort, is in California, Anaheim. There's also, Mish, do you want to name the rest?
What do you mean?
Name the rest of the parks where
Name
they
the rest
are.
of the parks.
Oh, you got Disneyland, Anaheim, Disney World, or AKA.
Yep, just name the two that I
what?
literally
I'm just
named.
going over it. Then you got Disneyland Paris. Then you got the Japan Resort, Disneyland Japan Resort. Then you got the Shanghai Resort. Then you got the Hong Kong Resort.
I think that's it.
that
Yeah,
it?
that's it.
Yeah.
And then you also had to name, so us not giving you guys all the questions.
Hopefully he changes
answers.
it up.
Yeah.
Actually, hopefully he doesn't change
Hopefully
it
he doesn't change it up because you actually do win a special prize. What answer did you do, Michigan? Because Michigan
I did the
managed
water
to win a
parks.
prize.
How many water?
Oh, how many water parks in the Florida Disney bubble?
Property.
Disney property, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
2.
2.
Is it
There was also the number of parks
Thought there
within
were
the
4. Oh, I'm failing.
No, that's the regular
My
parks.
test.
That's the next question. How many
I'm gonna
like parks
cheat.
there
Show me your
are
answers.
in the Orlando area, which is 4. I think that pretty much covers everything. And what
Yeah.
did you win, Michigan?
I got a little pen.
Which
If you watch the vlog, you'll see.
you'll see the pen.
Right here.
A
I'm holding
very
it.
special.
I'm
pen,
holding it right
which
here.
was good luck,
Check
I
it,
feel,
check.
because we all touched it.
And we're here now.
And we're here now, making a podcast about it all. So I would say my hot tip would be brush up on your basic Disney parks knowledge. And if you are with a group and you really all want pens, maybe split up and go to different corners of the room.
It was kind of hard to get to chime in. Can
And
I
get
just
his
say?
attention, yeah.
Yeah, like
Well, I
I wanted
shoved
to answer
out-
some of those questions,
I
but
was in the front
they
row,
were
so I was
quick.
like,
you gotta really,
I like how you
Just
say
about that.
basic, and I'm like, that's
not
really
basic.
advanced
That's-
knowledge.
No,
For me, that's really difficult.
it's really advanced, but I
How
guess,
many
like,
water parks are there? 2.
I think as the people that you're dealing with, if you are applying to be in the program, you're clearly like already a Disney nerd of some sort. You're not just going in it because
There's
you
some level
kind of
of-
like Disney. I feel like you have to be a pretty hardcore person.
some
to
level
wanna-
of Disney knowledge
there.
beyond general.
I got in by the skin of my teeth.
But this is
Oh,
not
I've
essential knowledge to actually get into the program. During the presentation, they also spoke about the Disney look, which has been updated since, updated only in the last few years. So before it was pretty strict. You weren't allowed to have tattoos. You couldn't color your hair.
piercings.
Piercings was you had to have a limited number. But now all of those rules are kind of gone, and you can have tattoos, but it has to be no bigger than the size of like the palm of your hand when fully extended. So if it went outside of
They
that,
didn't say
you'd
how
have to
many
cover it.
hands.
Or
Do
whose
any of
hand?
us have tattoos?
No,
I want Kawhi
no.
Leonard's hand on my arm. Boom, Shaquille O'Neal.
covered.
Covered.
So that's one of them. You can
Just
have
like an entire
tattoos.
arm sleeve.
The one that surprised me was the hair color. Do you guys remember what he said? I found it quite funny because the rule is
Natural.
yeah.
Is that what he said?
He said
Nothing you find in nature.
He said yeah. You can have any colored hair as long as you can find it in nature. And
Which
I'm like,
is any color.
any color.
So it
'Cause
could be.
you
Some
can
technicality, but he obviously meant like it,
It
has
could
to
be a bird.
natural.
It could be like a parrot.
like you're
Like
born
an
with that
earthy
hair.
colour.
I
Like
think that's what he meant. Oh,
brown, black,
saying pink is an earthy?
orange.
are you saying
blonde.
a bright green you don't find in nature?
So true.
Exactly. Anyway, so I just find that interesting. The wording. If they still want to be strict, they should have just worded it that way. But you could technically just argue pink hair is in nature because it is.
Yeah.
As they like
As like a
prepare
flower
your
and
like pink
stuff.
slips.
Depends how much you really want pink hair.
Yeah.
You try to argue like, oh, you're fired.
Yeah, pink hair. How about you pink slip?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Nice one.
So he talked about that. There was a
Get
lot
out
of
of here, you
videos.
rascal.
There's so he would break up his talking with some videos of the program. Given these videos are a bit outdated because
It was at the old.
the videos were of people staying at the old campuses, whereas now we are staying at what they call Flamingo Crossings, which we'll touch a little later. He talked about the pay rate, and interesting that he
Not their fault.
was like reiterating base pay is $14, as if he was alluding it would be more. But then when you get your contracts, it's like, no, you're just going to be paid $14. Like, I haven't come across anyone.
In 14 USD.
But
So-
it has
So-
gone up since 2019.
Which
Can I
used
just
to be
say?
like
Yeah, go on.
$10,
Shit.
right?
I think it was $10.
Yeah.
10 USD. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with the $14.
We'll take the
So
four.
40%
Which,
increase.
I don't know, maybe like the Americans listening to this podcast, they're like, oh, that's good. But
Copium.
but
But
in
for
Australia, it's a really good life here because casual jobs, like the base, like $14 is what you earn as like a 16-year-old. And then every year you get older, your base pay will increase.
But
Like,
when you hit 20, it like really increases.
yeah, so like you can be like currently all of us are earning at least $20 or more per hour. This is AUD. But
So how much would that
things
be?
like
The USD conversion from 14 to Australian is roughly about $21
So it would be.
an hour.
So that would be around how much I was earning at my old hospitality job, working at around 18 years old.
yeah, whereas
For
now
only 3, yeah. But so it's not much different for me living too much.
but for
It's a bit of a decrease.
I guess it depends where you are in your career as well. For the Australians listening, maybe it's not a big difference to you, but again, you're paying rent. You have to pay for your food.
Yeah.
If you're living at home with your parents, it is a bit of a big jump. Or if you're like in my situation, or like even Lorenzo, we both work for Telstra, so they do pay really well, and you're kind of earning an adult salary at this age, and now you're kind of going back to like $14.
Correct, with
an hour.
penalties as well.
Oh.
Whereas the only penalties that
What-
Disney
and-
offers.
Oh, penalties is a universal word. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, so the only penalties that Disney offers is if you work over
30 hours.
over 40 hours
30 or
in a
40?
week.
Over 40.
Over
40.
40. If you
Yeah.
work over 40 hours in a week, then you're given time and a half, which is 14 divided by 2, 21. You're getting 21 US dollars an hour if you work over 40 hours. So you don't get any nighttime shifts like, you don't
Which you
night
will be
rates, which you
working,
would
yeah.
here
Yeah.
in Australia. You don't get
Weekend rates.
Weekend
Weekend
rates.
rates.
You don't
Sunday
get
rates.
Overtime.
Public holiday
public
rates.
holiday
But they
rates.
wouldn't make you go overtime.
You don't get anything.
Because it's not. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you do get overtime there, which is the hour and
Yeah.
a half pay.
Oh.
Thank
But
you,
yeah, so you
Mouse.
get
Thank you.
so here it's very different. So that's kind of a big adjustment for any Australian or perhaps even New Zealander who is looking to do the cultural exchange program. Just be aware it is going to be most likely a pay cut for you guys. All in the favor of magic.
The cost of your living is automatically deducted from your pay rate, so
Gets
yeah.
taken out.
So yeah, I guess that's like easier
In one
a
way,
sense.
it's easier, but also like you feel extra poor. What you will feel.
And there will be a future podcast episode and a future video dedicated to the fees that we paid in relation to just getting to the Disney program.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it. This kind of hurts. But I'll just go through it because I have it written down. There's an entrance fee, which is going to sound so ridiculous and sound like an MLM and sound like we're crazy because we kind of are. Because what job makes you pay an entrance fee? Funny question. Disney.
Capitalism.
Where does this money go?
So they actually
Into
broke
the
it down
mouse's
for us, which
pockets,
is good.
mate.
So in total, you pay in AUD, I'm just going to say in AUD, $694. That's when you convert it. So in USD, $240 of your fee is the program participation fee, which goes directly to parties because they host
And, like,
events.
private events.
And private
Party
events.
bus!
Party bus! So you get like, we'll cover it when we get there, but I don't know what the parties entail. But
Look, I'm happy to pay the 240 USD
I'm assuming
for
the
parties.
party is part of their obligation to uphold the J1 side of the visa, which is
God, it's
you have to go
illegal, isn't
to
it?
cultural events, things like that.
Isn't there like workshops and like lessons and stuff like
yeah,
that?
I don't
Correct.
know
I
if
think
that's
that's
part
separate,
of
though,
if that
from-
goes towards our
Oh.
fees. But they specifically said like your party because they shut a park down, which will be really exciting, and it only like Australian and New Zealand
Were
people
you
get
not
to go.
listening
Really?
to the-
That was in the
That was in
presentation,
the
guys.
presentation.
Yes.
Dude, I'm so excited.
But I forgot about that. Now you
I
made
thought I was
me.
just gonna be exploited. This works. This is great.
I'm getting my money's
Great. You
worth.
know what? This is great.
So that's $240 of your fees. Then the other $191 goes towards your prepaid housing fee. The reason being is when you arrive at
Just the image of Mickey.
at the program, you're obviously not earning money yet because you're still training. So in order to cover your first kind of
first
couple
week.
of weeks of rent, you
Isn't
just
it the
pay an
first week?
advance fee.
It only covers the first week of rent. That 191, that's a flat rate. So regardless of, we'll go into housing prices in a bit. That covers the first, basically your first week there. So that it's also recommended that you come with at least $300 in cash to cover you for
That week that you don't earn money.
for the first week that you're not working and you're not getting your paycheck, so to pay for your food, transportation, that sort of stuff.
There is free
The basic
transportation.
needs.
The basic needs,
The
you know,
basic needs of a human.
keep you alive.
And the other fees that you will be paying, this is separate to visa, so this is just kind of like miscellaneous fees. You have to get a police check because obviously you're working with children and around children. And they said that London House is the organisation that will contact you about this. And so we're out here looking for London House in our emails, like once we get accepted. We're like, where is this London House? And it was in my spam. I don't know if it was in
It was
your
in my
guys'
spam.
It was in my
This is
spam
everyone's
too.
because
spams.
it's sketchy
Dodgy
AF.
AF. Yeah.
Sketchy AF.
Whoever they hired as the third party is super sketchy. Like the opening sentence
Is this? I wrote it down. The subject line of this email is criminal BG _ AUNZ _ your full name. Who would put criminal in the subject line of wanting your police check?
I'm proud our emails, filtered that out for us. But also, it was an important email.
It was an important email, and it's so
and there was like incorrect English, like it
because they're from
wasn't-
Thailand.
Yeah,
Go figure. London House
Yeah.
in Thailand.
which is cool. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyways.
so look through your spam is my advice. So that's about, for us Australians, about $42 to get your police check done because it has to be within the last 6 months. So if you're someone who already works with kids in Australia, you
don't
probably
have to do it.
if you
if
haven't done it
you
in the
did
6
it, yeah.
months. Yeah. So last fee related to this, there is more to come, but in this kind of period of your Disney journey is your insurance, which you pay for your 6 months of insurance. We didn't explain it in the beginning, but we did. It's a 5 to 12 month program. So you start with your 5/6 months and you can extend. So your insurance covers you for the first half, for the first 6 months.
You've got to pay it all again
Yeah.
if you want to extend to a
Yeah,
year.
because you obviously have to be protected.
Is that updated news or is
We don't know
if-
yet.
Is it the same news?
I mean,
It would make
Could they
sense
have
though,
changed
because
it?
you only
Yeah.
paid for 6 months of
And
insurance.
the thing with the insurance as well is you have to look very closely at the document they give you on how to purchase the insurance because there's a specific type and an order that you have to do your insurance.
Follow the so basically just follow the
Follow
documents,
the documents
they
that
sent you.
they give you.
So in USD, it's $476. When we personally paid it in AUD, it was 747 Australian dollars, roughly. My advice would be to, we're not sponsored in any form of way, but I personally use Up, the bank, and the Up card because you can use that overseas and have no fees associated with converting on the spot, and their conversion rates are pretty much accurate to what Google says. So if Google is going to give you 70 cents for a US dollar, so is Up, which is really good and really helpful. So there's no associated fees with that. So I have been paying all my US fees using an Up card. How
and
about
I've
you?
been using ANZ, and I feel like it's so much worse.
So much more expensive.
Yeah, so much more expensive.
So just sign up to Up.
I
Yeah.
mean, if Up wants to
So
sponsor
sign up to
us,
Up.
Because actually, if you have a friend who has Up, you can get a $5 code that So why
Sign up
haven't
to
I?
Up-
Yeah, why
Why
haven't we
didn't you
just
tell
to
me
each other?
this? Wow.
Anyway, so find a friend, and then you get $5 each for joining to Up.
like me.
Yeah, and it's a really cool app. Anyway, it makes banking fun. I don't know why I'm like really hardcore.
So the
This is
next
like an
30 minutes are
advertisement.
going to be a paid ad for Up.
Actually,
It makes banking fun.
I'm just
This
gonna
video
censor
is
this
sponsored
until
by NordVPN.
until they sponsor us. Okay, so that's the fees. Does anyone want to? I've done a lot of talking. Does anyone want to go through the housing? Explain the
I'm all
housing
good.
situation.
You're all good. Yo, Mish, you got it.
Michigan's really good at explaining the housing.
Well, so the housing, it was a lot cheaper when it first begun, but for the past, it's been out open for a year, I believe, but no, 2 years. For the past, year and a half, it's gone up by $10 each room type, and there's only 3 types of rooms. Each room, each apartment, can fit up to 4 people. So you got the 2x2, 2x2, which can fit. No, which is which is 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. You
For
share
4 people.
Yeah, for 4 people. You
Every apartment is 4 people. Just
Yeah.
remember that.
You share a room with somebody, and you share a bathroom with somebody. But then you share your living quarters in the living room and kitchen.
You don't share a bed. They're separate. There's 2 separate beds.
But I mean, if
With
you
a
want
divider.
to,
Imagine you
Unless
share a
you wanted
single
to.
bed for a whole
Hey,
year.
friend that I don't
Unless
know.
you and the homie were just like,
prank him, John. Prank him, John.
If you
know.
like spooning,
Yeah.
choose that option.
yeah, choose that one. Take out the divider, spoon all
A
you
good
want.
old midnight talking, just with the homie, with the homie from Ohio.
It's camp every day.
Go on.
Okay, next
The-
room type.
Then
Oh, maybe the price?
the price for that right now is 195 USD per week per person. And that bed type, the bed you get is a twin XL bed.
Once we see
Anyway,
it in person.
then you got the 4x2, and that is 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, your own bedroom, and you share a bathroom with someone, and so on and so forth. That is $215 per week per person. Same type of situation. You just get your own privacy and basically a whole room to yourself. Then you got the 4x4, your own bedroom, your own bathroom, and it's $235
A week.
a week
Per person.
Then for both 4x2s and 4x4s, you get a full XL.
Oh, bed, yeah.
Yeah, full XL bed, whatever that bloody means.
But the way that Flamingo Crossing is set out is that most of the rooms are 2x2s. So it's quite hard to be able to get a 4x4. The way that you submit your preferences is through an online platform that you will use.
What was our
We did
layering? We had 4
with
by
Rank
2
4x4
and then
2x2.
Can be tub, can be standing shower.
Oh, yeah. So another thing that like we discovered is it could be a bathtub with a shower nozzle like you do in like hotels, or it could be like a full standing shower. They're a mixed bag.
I think it's random.
Okay, I
It's-
thought
it's
you were saying
random.
only some just don't have showers and some don't have baths, and I was like, I can't do that constantly.
So it's either way. And then
Recycle the
another
water.
fact is there's 2 campuses. So there's Flamingo Crossings East and there's Flamingo Crossings West. You will not know until you get to your destination.
I think it's a week prior. They'll
a
give you
week prior.
that information.
Are they very close or like quite far away campuses?
It's
Do you
like
know?
a 5-minute drive, I think.
Oh, okay.
But that's by bus. But
Yeah, so it's not recommended that you like walk to them. So hopefully we're in
get
the
a
same
scooter.
one. We're still part of the presentation. Let's just kind of walk through this like not as quickly as possible, just at a quicker pace. The roles that are available prior to getting there, you actually get to select your or put your nominations for what roles you want. The funny thing is this is different to what we were told when we get there. So the online system is outdated because there were a few roles that you could have say like I want to do it, but they didn't actually exist once we
Yeah.
got there.
Which we can go into.
Yeah, so the way that Joe described it, there's what we call the big 3 of the job roles, which is, he described it really well. He was saying that every guest will have to eat, every guest will go on rides, and every guest will probably want to buy something and take something home with them.
Yeah.
Which means that the top 3 roles and the roles that they have a lot of are food and beverage, which is quick service, Attractions, which is kind of an umbrella term, which means that anything that assists with the guest experience, whether this is rides, whether this is parade control, loading stage shows, so like being an usher, or like even parking attendants. And then the third one is called merchandise, but he categorized it as merch-attainment, which made it really fun and sounded fun. And because
and we all wanted
it. Because you take tangible memories home. And then he listed the rest of the roles in order of like how many he had to give out. So it got scarcer. Yeah, scarcer and scarcer as you went down. So after merchandise, you have seater, which is kind of like a maitre d' at a restaurant. Recreation activities, which is anything in the resorts, which is like a slide operator, doing like mini golf stuff. And
recreational.
then
like children, like little children games.
Yeah,
little children games.
Children.
So bad.
Yeah, like children's activities, I think is like one under that as well. You have lifeguarding, which even Australians can do, but you don't have to be CPR trained because they will train you on the job as well and give you like the official American training and license. And you get on the job training for that. Custodial, which is cleaning, so anyone around the parks. But it's a bit of a trick one because people think it's only cleaning. What I like to think is Disney's already a clean place. Like there's garbage bins every 7 steps. Like they designed it to be that
That's
way. Or
30
12
steps.
30 steps. I don't know. My fact is wrong. There's garbage cans everywhere. So most of the time guests are pretty clean. So it's more so like you have to have the knowledge of the parks because
You're basically helping everyone.
people
around.
will come up to you and be like, Disney worker, here's my question.
You're like an info person.
It's like being on the sales floor of a retail shop.
Yeah, pretty much. And you just kind of like pick up rubbish every now and then. He actually said a fun fact is that custodial has the highest employee satisfaction, which is really interesting, even though you're like picking up trash.
Yeah, I still put it last on my list.
You're not just picking up trash. You also like take care of cleaning. What's it called? Hotels, the resorts.
Oh, the resorts, yeah.
Other parts of that as well. So
But
it's
also
not just like
how we had to rank our preferences for the roles.
Yeah. So I'm just going through the
okay.
roles at the moment. So then you have concierge, which is at the hotels. And one of the kind of like unique tasks is sometimes you assist with currency exchange. So I guess you have to be good at math in that
and
sense.
also know the American money.
And understand American cash. For us Australians, that's a bit more of a challenge. Photo passes underneath that. So that's one of the really scarce roles. So that's the people who take photos in the parks. And then lastly, the very, very rare, and he said he only had like a handful of these to give out, was the character attendant. So that is any human being or best friend of the character that you're meeting. So Mickey will always have an attendant with them, and this attendant is basically for face characters, so not face characters, for characters in costume, their translator, because obviously they're just signing. But even face characters, so, princesses who actually talk, they also have a character attendant as well. Anyway, do you guys want to, if you remember, pre-interview, what you ranked your roles as, or like what you wanted and what you definitely didn't want? You don't have to do the whole list.
Are we going to get into what roles we got, or is that...
Maybe not. Maybe not this one. Because we'll talk about when we have experience of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll go first because I remember it. The first one that I put was character attendant. They also had character performer on the list, which was technically even rarer than character attendant, which is where you are the character yourself.
You are Mickey.
You are Mickey. You're him. He is you.
We are one.
There's an additional. If
Sorry,
you
kids
want
who are
to
listening
do,
to this.
Yeah.
Oh God! Don't listen.
If you want to do character performer, there's additional auditions that you have to do. But I think because we are the reopening year of the international college program, they didn't open character performers to us, like the audition process, things like that. So the best we could get is character attendant. My number 1 was character attendant. My number 2 was custodial. And then my number 3, I'm pretty sure, was either quick service or it was the merch. Yeah.
Shelly, do you want to go next?
I think I did attractions first, and then I did merch, and then food and beverage.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Or I put them all as like the top Because you
Is
could
it the
do that.
big three?
Yeah, it wasn't actually
Like a 1, 2,
on
3.
the online platform. You didn't have to do 1, 2, 3. It was like I don't even remember the terminology.
It was
High
high
interest.
interest,
Ah, yes.
Moderate.
interest, low interest, and then no interest.
Which was actually so hard for someone like me who's indecisive. I was like,
But also
I'll just
trying
put
to
them
give
all as
yourself
high
the,
interest.
yeah, and the best chance at trying to get the job as well. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to balance that and just be kind of open to anything. Because it, as you go into these Facebook groups, you just learn that no matter what you get, you do end up kind of loving your job. And Mish, did you want to say what you chose?
I think it was the main big three with attractions at the top, merchandise as second, then food and beverage is third. I didn't want to do food and beverage because my past work experience has just been I've done 3 years as a dishwasher. I'm good. I don't want to do it again. So I had that. That I think I put cedar as 4. Then it's just kind of worked your way down with like lifeguard and like
Yeah,
Yeah,
'Cause
none
I
of us
can't
put
swim.
lifeguard up there.
we can't swim, so that's probably not
lifeguard,
the best.
recreation
You don't want me
attractions, all that towards the
saving.
bottom.
So personally, I did merchandise because of my background in retail. I think there was one that that wasn't actually a thing
Oh, yeah.
anymore, which was, what was it called again?
Can't
Vacation planning.
That's the
And I'm
one.
like, oh my God, I am able to do computer systems and I would find that great. And then I was thinking about it after I submitted and I'm like, actually, I don't think I
Suiting
would
it
like,
off. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I would like that. So thankfully it wasn't an option. And then I think I put like character attendant, custodial, probably did CETA and recreation attractions, like kind of at the top there. With my last one, well, I actually put no interest in food and beverage because
That's crazy.
I have no experience in
Yeah,
it,
fair.
and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So it's both those dual reasons. But then this leads us into the interview portion actually. So now that we have an idea of what we wanted to go for, so you have your presentation at 9 a.m. and then you either leave and come back for your interview time, or if you were like the 3 of us, you stayed for your interview. Shell did try to get an earlier one.
Well, on the day that they announced the interview times, I was a bit late to get on there and book my time slot. So I think I got 1 p.m. or 2 p.m.
That was
then,
11.
Yeah,
No, we got 11.
yeah, everyone else got a bit earlier, but I just got to hang around and find out that all the stuff that they were going to ask us. So actually, it was beneficial in the end.
And so we had 2 interviewers, not at the same time. They hosted their own separate interviews. You had Michelle, who we haven't mentioned yet, and then Joe. But Michelle is
Above
Joe's
Joe.
superior.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Bit intimidating in that way. You're like, oh my God, who am I going to get? Am I going to get Michelle? Am I going to get Joe? It took them a while to actually get prepared. So they were running late that day. But the 2 main things walking into the interview, they had advised everyone at the presentation, we are going to have 2 main questions for you. What are your preferred roles, like top 3? And what is your preferred arrival date? For us personally, there's a bit of a story there coming. For us personally, you could choose from the 17th of January or the 23rd of January. So you just had to be ready with those questions. Even Joe himself said his number 1 tip is just be honest. If you don't want to do a certain role, do not say you want to do it if you don't. Like, you have the opportunity. They're not forcing you to do anything. Just say it. But he also cautioned, you are obviously going to have more of a chance to be in the program if you're choosing one from the big 3 because there's more to give. If you only choose like character attendant or CETA or photo pass.
And say absolutely no interest
And
for
you're like,
everything
no.
else.
Then you don't
That'll
have
make it a bit
good
hard.
chance.
Do it,
Yeah.
I dare you. Do it.
Should we go in order of like interviews because that's what happened on the day?
Who was
Yeah.
first?
Yeah,
Oh.
so I was first, so I was
No,
just
I thought Lorenzo was first.
No.
no, he was after me.
I was
So it was
after
me,
Maybelline.
Michigan,
Oh.
Lorenzo, and then Shell.
No,
It was
Lorenzo
a
was the
later
same time as
appointment.
you.
Just after. I still saw him.
Anyways.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I got Joe as my interviewer. So I was excited. Well, I mean, it didn't really matter
Met the
who
man.
else, but he was doing the presentation. It was really engaging, so I knew like his personality and it would be a good time. So the first question that he asked is like the really straightforward, are you eligible? Have you done uni? What year of uni are you in? Just making sure you're eligible if you got to this stage, because it would be really bad if you got there and you actually weren't. He did compliment me on my outfit. I wore a pink blazer with like a Mickey Mouse t-shirt. It was an overt worshipping of Mickey Mouse. No subtlety there. All my accessories were Disney related, but hey, he noticed, so that's all right. And a good thing is he asked all the questions that we practiced, and the questions that we practiced we found like on the internet.
Yeah, just through multiple sources.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes what we used. He did ask pretty much all of them, but it felt like, or maybe this was because I didn't think I was nervous, but I must have been because I was like,
It was a blur.
saying it. Like I was being really efficient, and because he was nodding his head, I was like, oh, he understands. I must go to my second point. Like I must brush over this. And I can't even remember the questions we asked. He just was like, oh, walk me through your resume was one of them. And I'm proud of myself because I cracked the joke of, I like to think of my resume as like a Hannah Montana life. I have my retail life and then I have my arts life. So like I spoke about my retail experience, emphasizing that because I wanted merchandise. And then my arts was, talking about my event experience as well. Then it took like a turn because originally, as I said, I wanted to be a vacation planner, and since that wasn't an option anymore, I was like, I guess I'll be a character attendant, which in reality, I would not be good at. Well, I could do it, but like I've already done like children's related jobs at front
I think
facing.
you'd be bad at keeping the magic alive.
I just think it would be quite tiring, like having to be switched
40 hours
on all
of
the
that.
time. I just don't think I could handle
Yeah.
it. And so I was just being swept up in the moment, and Joe suddenly asks me, oh, what's your favorite character? And I'm like, it's like he's reading my star sign. I better like tell him like a character, which I genuinely love Tiana. So I said Tiana. And then I gave my reasons of like, she's a hardworking woman. She has a great relationship with her dad. And that's what I have. I'm a hardworking woman with a great relationship with her dad. And so I was just
One
like,
of these is not like the other.
I was trying to finesse it. Little did I know, he was setting this up to be a ploy that I should have known because I read the forums and I knew this was coming, but I didn't know because I wasn't prepared. And he's like, great, so you know Tiana's dress. I'm like, yeah, I know Tiana's dress. It's a beautiful dress. And then he's like, so you know how it has many different layers? I'm like, yeah, I know that. I'm like, sure. He's like, so let's imagine. I was like, oh, scenario question. And I was like, oh, shoot, scenario question. So let's pretend there's like a kid who's like really excited to see Tiana, and he's accidentally tugs on her dress and part of her dress is coming apart. You, as the character attendant, what would you do? I was sweating. I was fine.
I didn't even know that he asked you this. I would have freaked out.
I was fine for the rest of the interview because it's what I prepared and I pride myself on those interviews. But again, I didn't think I was going to be a character attendant. I just kind of blurted it out and got myself in trouble that way. And so I was thinking on the spot, and my improv brain, I'm telling you, it did not kick in. It was a really bad answer. If I'm going to expose myself, I did say something along the lines of, oh, kid.
No, you didn't.
I don't know. Kid. Oh, kid, no. I
Hey,
can't
buddy.
remember. Hey, buddy. Something.
Hey, mate.
Hey, mate.
Right.
Some sort of endearing term for a child. Tiana needs to go away because she just got a call from Naveen and he's hungry, so she needs to cook him some gumbo.
That is hilarious.
Tiana needs to leave. And
Do you know what? That's pretty creative, and it shows you know.
Joe was a good sport. He was like, amazing. I was like, thanks, Joe. Even though I know it was, because then looking back at it, I'm like, that's a really misogynistic thing to say, and that's so against my values. It's go cook dinner for your husband, Tiana.
And just before you were like, Tiana's a hardworking woman, and now you're like, Tiana, go cook some.
And that was the last question. He also asked if we had any other questions, so I just said that he should stop by Adelaide next time because Adelaide's a great place, and half the applicants are Adelaideans. So if they do stop by next year because the next applications are,
You're welcome.
it's because of us Adelaide representatives. Who was next? It was Lorenzo. Yeah.
Me, I was next.
Yeah, go on.
So I got Joe's superior, Michelle, which, because Joe was doing all the talking during the presentation, you could not get a read on Michelle. She was sitting in the corner, literally Shady's section of the room, just like
in the darkest corner.
in the darkest corner. Joe mentioned her once. She was like, hello. And then she would just watch everyone else like for the rest of the presentation. So you couldn't get a feel for Michelle going into the interview. But I handed it up. I was like excited to be there. She, even though I like, my number one thing was to do character attendant. When she asked me what my big three roles were, she didn't ask me about like to put me into a situation, which if she did, I would have been stuffed because I had prepared nothing. I thought of nothing. I don't even know what.
Head empty.
My head was empty. Like I know
And
nothing
we're-
about Disney
we're-
World. I don't know what parks are there.
Wait, and we're majors in performing arts.
Correct. So I was like flying off the seat of my pants, but I was flying well. Like I was talking about my experience and I was adapting it to how it could be used within a Disney context. I think the one that I was most proud of was because I work for Telstra, which is Australia's like biggest telecom company.
Not to get on a high horse about Telstra.
Yeah, telecommunications company. I was like, well, I'm used to working for a premium brand and having premium brand expectations set upon me, not only by my customer, but also from my peers around me. Like, we have to uphold this image and this, cycle, this magic. Except
Lorenzo's
it's
biggest
corporate
risk.
magic. Yeah, it's corporate magic instead of Disney magic. Corporate Riz, I just recognized what you said. Essentially, I was corporate rizzing Michelle. And she was like, "Oh yes, very nice, very nice." Yeah,
Very nice.
Yeah, mainly her questions for me were like entirely legal. Like what you said, she was like, "What are you eligible to do this?" And I'm like, "Yes." Tell me about yourself. I talked about myself. The only question that kind of caught me off guard was, what was it again?
What can you tell me about you that's not on your resume?
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you,
Because she
Rochelle.
asked me that too.
'Cause I think it might
Michelle's
have
a
been.
good
I'm
one.
pretty sure
Michelle's
it's in
a
the
good
vlog.
one.
If it's not in the vlog, then we're liars. But if she did ask me that, what did I answer? Oh,
Oh,
I
it was the
remember. It was that I like to bring a sense of humor to like my team, like a not so serious sense of humor outside of work, of course, off off stage when you're not performing for the kids and adults.
Off the clock.
Off the clock, essentially, yeah. Like I like to think that I bring a sense of humor, and I make that my entire personality.
But you also spoke about your experience with Aladdin, right? Which you
I did as
introduced
well.
at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. Because she was like, she was asking me about like how I found out about the program, what made me want to work for Disney, and then again I went and drug through that same story where I was like, yeah, I found about Aladdin in 2015, and I watched it in the Hyperion Theater, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool! Wow, they actually look like they're flying. I want to be a performer. I want to be on the stage, and then yeah, that led me to like being like, please let me be a character attendant.
Please.
Pretty please, please. And yeah.
Yeah, from the outside looking in as well, I'll mention that Rochelle, myself, and Michigan were in the waiting room, and his definitely went the longest. Like, I
Yeah.
was in and out of Joe's room like that because I guess I was speaking
Yeah,
very fast.
yeah.
I don't
But
know
he
if it's
was
because I was
there for a
talking too
while.
slow or she was asking too many questions or whatever,
Bit
but
of both.
They were just having a good chat.
yeah, we
Yeah,
just
I
having a good
think so,
chat.
'cause-
Also, like to be fair, I was also like 100 meters down the hall, so walking time was a bit longer than just in and out the door like they were.
So Michigan was next for his interview.
It's basically the same as yours, but
Who did you
Oh
have
yeah,
your
no,
interview
fuck.
with? Yeah.
I got Joe. I got the man Joe. So basically, yeah, me and Maybelline got Joe. So it was the same talking points. Then I think because I rehearsed it a lot, the answers, I hit all the questions he wanted to ask me before he even asked me. So it was a very
You're
fast
prepared.
conversation. Again, a lot of the same legal jargon. Then yeah, my top role was I wanted to be attractions. I want to work, like at the time, potentially on Tron or literally just any park would have been sick. Then, yeah, it was very fast. But like I went through this like same story of my interest being through the Imagineering story, which piqued my interest and got me down my road of set design as my educational study. That it was a pretty fast talk, to be honest. Nothing too special. Yeah, nothing too special. It was
Okay.
just pretty much the default conversation, and I think it would have been longer if I actually let him ask the questions.
Oh my god. Oh no, what Michigan's trying to come across and say is he didn't like jump the gun and he's like, so tell me, and then he's like, I'm Michigan, I'm 18 years old. Like, that's not what he meant.
And I know what you're going to ask me, and I prepared an answer.
I know everything about you, Joe.
Please don't ruin my script.
I don't think he means that. Well, he means that in his answers were so detailed that it covered multiple questions.
Yeah.
Is I think what you're
So
trying
they
to
were
say.
Yeah, so like,
stumped
he'd
to,
ask
like-
like a question,
yeah.
but then
You'd
I kind
answer
of like,
3.
yeah, but I made it a very compounded answer.
Comprehensive, answer.
Yeah, so it kind of avoided the
He's like, well, thanks.
bye bye.
All right, Rochelle, you're up because you had an appointment later in that day.
I did, and I was a bit more prepared because I'd heard from you guys about what they were asking. And I still felt nervous, though. I was like, oh my God, like, I'm going to screw this over because I just don't do well in interviews. Like, I just don't do well under pressure. So I was, like, freaking out. But I had Michelle, and she asked me the same kind of questions, like, what roles, obviously, am I eligible, what dates, like what I want to do, and I said both. We'll get into later, but she did ask me the resume question, like what can I tell her about me that's not on my resume, and I think I just said that like I'm an enthusiastic individual, something like that. I don't even know.
I'm pasta Gogo.
I love pasta go-go.
Yeah, I just love pasta. I love bubble tea.
love
Okay,
pasta.
that's not on my resume, but that's true. You need to know that. And the one thing I was like worried about with my interview was that we were laughing a lot. Well, I was laughing.
And by we, I mean me.
By me, I
She did not
felt
seem
like
entertained on her end.
Like,
she wasn't even smiling.
she was shocked. She was like,
I just felt
She's
like
just
I didn't take
confused.
it seriously. Like, I don't know. I just was like having too much fun. And like, yeah, I think there was one thing she
You just
said
kept
at
rambling,
the end.
but she was looking at her watch, just trying to get it over with.
Yeah. At the end, she asked me like if I had any questions, and I said, "This is what really scared me," and I was like, "This might cost me my job." I don't know if I told you guys this,
No, I
but I
didn't
was
hear this.
like, oh, like what I wanted to say was, do we have the opportunity to like change roles, like, or are we stuck? I said, are we stuck in the role the whole year?
Oh.
Something like that, stuck. And she was like, what did she say?
She was perplexed
It
as
was the
well.
wording.
I think I was like, oh, that's not the right word to use. And she was like, yeah, that's not a good word to use. And but we were laughing.
okay.
I know, guys, it's so good. We were laughing. And then I was like, just don't forget I said that. And she was like, oh, good, I forgot that you said that. And it was like a banter.
Okay,
we were
okay,
like
that's fine, that's
bantering.
fine.
It was
We were
so
riffing.
weird. It was
That scared
so
me.
It was so weird because I left and I was like, that's it. But I think she
I'm gone.
liked that I was like natural and like,
What, genuine?
yeah, like genuine and like I hadn't like, I don't know.
Robotically
yeah,
set
like-
answers.
Yeah,
Go
like-
down the genuine route compared to scripting.
I
We
went
have
down
two
the general-
extremes here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I left and I shook her hand because we had to do a
Sweet.
good handshake. I felt like that was like a big.
Did we shake Joe hands?
Did you not shake the hand? Oh,
I don't think we did.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, I did a
I'm
really
pretty
like
sure, yeah.
strong one.
We just said bye-bye.
And then I couldn't open the door to exit the interview room. So we were laughing about that and I was like, oh my God, this is shambles. But do you know what? I think she liked that I was like having fun and like positive. And
I don't think
that
that's
was
a
good.
problem though, because that's
Yeah.
the whole brand. You're supposed to
Yeah.
be, you know, your entertainment. Even though you're working there and doing your job, you're supposed to be having fun so that all the
I think that was
guests
the
can
one
have
thing,
fun.
like my sister was like, just, you know, smile and like show that you're a positive, like enthusiastic individual and they'll want that because that's what they want at Disney.
Should've
And I was
done a
like,
show
okay,
in
well, at
front of
least I
her.
got that one down. I got that one ticked off. So, yeah, that was my
Done.
interview.
Thanks, Rochelle, for capping us off. I think that brings us to the end of our very first podcast episode where we have really discussed the ins and outs and every layer of applying for the Disney Cultural Exchange Program and going to the interview. I'd like to just wrap this up with just a quick lightning round of hot tips that we've covered because it has been a long one. Maybe you don't remember everything. There will be these in the show notes and on our Instagram. Oh, I need to be plugging that sort of stuff here at the end. Anyway, any hot tips from here or that you want to just mention?
I will say that my hot tip is when they ask you which dates you want to arrive for the program. There's 2 dates, the 17th and the 23rd, I think, of Jan. You don't have to say yes to both, because my thought was that, like, oh, if I say yes to both, then they'll, accept me because I'm easy and I'm, like, available for both dates. But I actually got the 17th and the rest of you guys got the 23rd, so we're arriving on different dates now. So I would just say,
Wrong.
right, say which one you want. Yeah, you're going to get into the program if you did a good job in the interview. So, yeah.
Good tip. My tip would...
Which, if I can, bounce off on that, is your arrival date is incredibly crucial. It's not just like we arrived 6 days earlier. That's cool. It determines who you're going to be living with, because you can only... We'll touch on this in the next episode, but you can only live with the people who are of the same arrival date as you. So
We'll get into that next time.
Yeah, so we'll get into more about that next time and all the different applications and forms and things like that. My hot tip would be the importance of that proof of student form. Maybe if you're buddy with someone higher up in student services, you can get it done. Again, we're just talking from this perspective of Adelaide and UniSA specifically, and it was quite straightforward compared to what interstaters went through. So just do that as soon as possible. Michigan?
Me?
Yeah, do you have any hot tips?
Good question. Email them.
Oh my god.
Email who?
For what?
Just, if you need anything from them, email them. The Disney support crew.
Okay. Great hot tip.
Hey, I've got another hot tip.
Go for it.
Use the Up credit card because you will not pay as much
That's actually
compared
a
to
good tip.
ANZ.
And if you want to
No
swap
offense,
codes with me, message me on Instagram so we both can get $5.
If you want an affiliate link, use the link down below.
I've got another hot tip.
Go for it.
They're all
Just
just
full of
coming.
them.
They're just coming
Alright.
out. I think join the group chat because that's been pretty helpful. I mean, I've found that pretty helpful with like info and stuff that I'm confused about. And if you guys weren't available, I would just like read through that and my answer would be there. So
I think,
it's a Facebook group chat for the Disney
You'll
cultural
always
program.
find some sort of group chat made by someone. If not, make it yourself and start inviting people.
Yeah.
I think the final tip that we've covered today is just, this is just an extra one, is just brush up on your basic Disney parks knowledge. I intentionally didn't because I'm an idiot, and also because it's going to be my first time at Disney World. I want to experience it blind, and that's just for my personal enjoyment. But if you already, are a big fan of Disney, like double down on it, like really, like, make it known that you know a lot. No, make it really known that you know a lot about Disney, because
Your
that
love and appreciation for
correct.
it.
It'll shine through during the interviews, and I think the interview is really the most crucial part. Aside from the legalities of it, getting through that interview is the most crucial part. Like, your arrival date doesn't matter, your job doesn't matter. It's just how you are as a person, if you fit the Disney image and the Disney brand.
Correct. So that brings us to the final end of our episode. I'll let you know that we do have a vlog that may already be out at this stage, just recounting this interview process and our presentation, and it's on the ground footage. So we have a vlog that might be already out about our Melbourne trip and it's actual footage from our Melbourne trip, so be sure to check that out. We are Mates on Main Street on YouTube and everywhere else, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, if we decide to use it, but we're there. And Facebook, because Australians do love their Facebook. So you can follow us there to keep in store with updates. That doesn't make sense.
touch.
To keep in touch and keep in touch with updates. That'll be all from us this episode. Catch us next time around. We will be posting weekly on both YouTube and our podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
We surely hope you enjoyed your travels with us and that you'll come back and see us again real soon. This is Main Street, USA.